This time on FTB Skies, we finish our mega ore processing factory, both inside and out, build a giant new island, and start our space program. Yep. We're going to space.
So what now? What now?
And I can't wait. I've always wanted to go to space, but we'll get back to that later. First off, I need to get this factory finished. And between episodes, as you can see, I have done a little bit of work here. We've added another XP vault. It's a fluid tank, not a vault. Good start. But we have added another fluid tank here, and we've also got these taps on the front, so we can actually use them. And, well, I'm not really keen on the shading on these, but they do the job. It's fine. And if we go inside, we can see we now actually have walls all the way around. We even have them at the back here. And I've used a few varieties of spruce wood to sort out the walls up on this side here. Besides that, I've just tidied up a few other things like this control panel here, so we've got everything labeled so we can see what's what, and we've also got a factory kill switch now, which when I flick that, it literally turns off the entire factory, just in case we ever need to conserve some power. And upstairs here, you can see this has all turned itself off. Our vault is full over here. And I guess we're going to start off today by sorting this out. But I need to sort it out in such a way that we can keep producing iron even if all the other ingots get full. And I think I've got an idea. So what I'll do is I'll drag everything out of the current vault and I'll use mechanical arms to sort it all out into drawers. Besides the iron, of course, which will have a giant vault and its very own belt. We'll add a copper upgrade and a void upgrade to each drawer, so after the first 20k or so, the arms can still feed the ores in, but they'll just get destroyed, which will keep the ingot vault clear of clutter and allow iron to flow through. It's looking like this is going to work a treat. So all the iron ingots have been going into here, and everything else is getting sorted into the drawers here. Look at that. Marvellous. There is, however, one more thing we need to do before we can call this factory complete, besides actually putting a roof on it and finishing the decoration, and that is to create steel, which is something we're going to need loads of in the future. And for that, we're going to have to take a look at the mechanism mod, so let's have a little gander, shall we? And all we actually need is what looks like pretty much the first step here. We just need a metallurgic infuser. And what we need to do is feed iron ingots into the infuser, which will give us enriched iron, and then with the enriched iron, we can turn that into steel dust, and then we need to cook the steel dust, and that will give us steel ingots. And that's basically what we need to try and do in this tiny area over here. So let's see what we can do. And I think something like this should just about do it. So the first challenge we actually had over here was converting rotational power into FE, so I had to make myself an alternator, but then it gave me some pipes, and I just plugged them into the back of the metal things, and now they seem to be powered, which is marvellous. So the iron comes out of the vault here, goes into the first infuser and gets converted into enriched iron. It then gets converted in here and turned into steel dust, which if we get over the front here, we can see then drops out the front and then gets cooked by these fans and goes into this wonderfully large vault. These infusers also need coal though, so I've also got a mechanical arm just grabbing coal here. And this is actually the same coal that we're feeding over to the power plant. I've just kind of moved where it all happens. And yeah, now we're actually spreading some of the coal here and some of the coal goes over to power. And the good thing is, because we've burnt through all the ingots, sorting them into the drawers here while we were fiddling around with this, we've actually had all the other machines turn on as well because, well, we needed more ore in the one down here and then that needed more gravel, and basically everything's just turned on and everything's working as it should be. Apart from the fact that it's a tiny bit framey over here now, but that's fine. It's only when all the machines are on. So I think we've got all the machines in this particular factory that we need for now, and that means I can actually get a roof on this thing, get the interior sorted out, and basically just get the whole thing looking nicey-nicey. So I'm going to mess around with this for a little while, and hopefully when I bring you back in, we'll be ready to start our space program. Well, it turned out there was a lot more to do than I expected, but I think we're actually done here with this factory, and it's looking beautiful. So in fact, I'm going to quickly jump into free cam here for a little bit while we have a look at the outside. It's just a little bit easier. So we've got some of the XP leaking out. We did actually end up pretty much filling these things completely until I bucketed some out and put it here. But I think that adds a nice little bit of detail to the island around here. And we did, of course, have to build up more island because, well, this factory was overhanging by a decent chunk. So we've added in some more bits around the bottom here and just expanded out the back. And of course, we've added this platform around the side here, which you probably saw in the quick time lapse there. And that platform there actually leads down to another tiny little island, which I'll explain in a moment. But it is there for a reason. And then if we have a closer look down the front here, we've got a conveyor belt that's sort of taking iron across. It's not really needed, but I thought it looked quite nice. And of course, we've got all the ores and bits like that down here as well. Although I do need to put something in this sign. I forgot about that. We'll put a copper sheet for now. It's fine. That's kind of representative of what we're doing in here, I guess. And on the inside, we finally have a roof, a massive roof that's not really that very well supported, if I'm honest. But it's fine, just don't look at it too closely. And we've also added a door out the back because our new island's going to be going around here somewhere, but we'll get to that shortly. And when we go upstairs, we have the main information board. So I've actually just pulled all the information from the different machines into one place. So at a glance, we can see exactly what our stock levels are for absolutely everything. And I've added a network stress thing here as well. So we can see how much power we have in total, how much is being used, and most importantly, what we've still got available. And we've still only got 2 out of the 4 stacks in the power station running, so plenty of stress available for future projects. And I've actually used these feral lanterns here hanging on chains for lighting because what they do is they randomly kind of spring up light sources around the area, and it means I haven't got to spam absolutely everything with lights. And to be honest, I think they look quite industrial as well, so I like those. I also finished off the path around the side here, which goes onto this walkway, and we've added in an elevator here, which does work and works much better than the first one we built over the other side by our base. And this takes us down to this area here. And the reason we're here, if you look on the right-hand side, this is actually a lukewarm ocean biome. And I've thought that maybe if I was fishing in an ocean biome, I might have a bit more luck. I mean, naming those signs still would be a whole lot easier with a name tag. But then I fished for about half an hour so far, and I think we've actually probably had worse loot. I wonder if I need to make the lake a little bit bigger. I mean, it's more of a puddle, isn't it? To be honest, I can't really call that a lake. Barely even a pond. But now with all of that done, we can make a start on our space program. By which I mean we can build a giant island for the next 12 hours for our space program. Because yeah, we're gonna need a lot of space for this. And I think what I want to do is add another island in out the back here. But I want to have it raised up a little bit. Probably sort of level with the roof of this almost. But you don't need to see me build another island. So I'm just going to go in here and then I'm going to go like this a little bit. And then when I go back out, you'll see that it's actually already finished, which is marvelous. And we've even put in a little bridge across the top here with power going through as well. So that island does indeed have power too. And for some reason, pigs just keep spawning up over there. And also down there. Don't know why. I mean, look at them. There's loads of them. Well, let's go have a closer look at this island. So as I say, we have got a bridge in, which is accessible via the top level of this warehouse. It seemed like the best way to connect these 2 islands. And if we go up here, you can see just how much space we've got. And look at the size of this thing. Absolutely massive. And I have also looted a jetpack from a local village, which has got limited hydrogen, but it has been very handy with building this island. So I guess we have to figure out how to make hydrogen at some point. But if we jump into FreeCam and have a look at this island, we see we've got lots of space. We've got 3 different biomes as well by the looks of it. And I've also added a couple of additional floating islands here as well. And if we come over by the windmill, we can see that the island height actually works really well as well. In fact, you can just see me standing there in front of the sun. I think once we get some buildings up on here, that's going to look really good and just give a little bit more variation to the area. But now we have this land, we need to figure out what it is we actually need to do with it. And for that, I guess we're going to be jumping back into the quest book here. So if we have a look at exploration here, we do need to, well, we haven't actually done these things. Although we have found nether sky villages and sky villages, we haven't actually made these things. So I guess we should complete those as well. But we then need to make an Eye of Legend and get to the end. And the only way to do that, it seems, is to basically start a space program. And we can get to the end over here, which is technically an asteroid belt apparently, but essentially there's loads of dimensions. We can go to the moon, we can go to like Venus and Mars and all sorts. And to kick it all off, we need to make ourselves a NASA workbench, and this is why we needed steel. But if we're gonna start doing sciencey things, I should probably look the part. There we go, much better. So I guess the first thing I'm gonna do over here is just build a small platform to start experimenting on. I really don't know what this is going to entail. I don't know how much space I'm actually going to need, and I have no idea what the buildings are going to look like. So I think just a small stone platform, and we'll route some power over there as well, should hopefully help get us started. And of course we'll need to build that NASA workbench. I've slapped down a stone slab and I've bought power over here, so we have rotational power from the main power plant, and I'm also converting a bunch into FE as well. That's going super fast, and we're getting 180 FE per tick for each one of these, so that hopefully that'll be enough to get us started. I literally have absolutely no idea how much power we're going to need over here, but more importantly, we've now got this, which is our NASA workbench, and this is very confusing. It's for building rockets. That's all I know at this stage, so I need to dig around in the quest book and do a little bit more research. And the first part of that is going to be completing this, and that's going to give us a book. Okay, cool. Well, I guess I'm going to be reading for a bit. So the book tells me the first thing I need to do is to build a launch pad and to build myself a rocket. And having a look around, I just need to make all of these parts. All of these things I have fairly easy access to thanks to all the steel we've got, although I do need to make something to make these iron rods, because it looks like we're going to need quite a lot of those. So let's get a little quick rolling machine in here, shall we? There we go, that should do the trick. So in theory, if I grab myself some iron, I should just be able to get those rolled. Look at that. Iron rods. Easy as that. So now we have those coming in. I just need to make myself a whole bunch of steel plates and a whole bunch of iron plates, but we already have something set up for that over at the power plants. So let's just chuck a bunch of them in there. So we should have everything we need. Let's try and build our first rocket. So we need some of these. We need one of them. We need one of these. We need a steel engine. Wonderful. So we have the steel engine, we have the rocket fins, we have the tank, and we have the nose cone. Is there anything else we need? Because we've got the blocks already as well. Oh, of course, we need a launch pad as well. So let's build ourselves one of those. Wow, this thing's huge. What's going on here? Okay, I see. It's actually very, very large. So let's see if we can construct our first rocket. So we put that in there. Then we put those in. We put fins on either side. We put one of them at the bottom. And I think we probably need another steel tank. Yes, we do. We need one more of those. So let's get that in there as well. And there we go. We have our first rocket. Look at that. Do we just place that on there? Wow, it's huge. Oh, that is so cool. And we can get in it as well. Excellent. So this actually looks very, very cool, but we're not done yet. We can't go into space because we also need to make ourselves an oxygen loader, but it looks like we should have what we need in order to get this done. There we go. That's our loader, although it does look like it takes power, and oh my, this looks confusing. Right, what does this need? Back to the book, I guess. So let's see. If we just plug that into the power there for now, and it says if we put water in the left tank. Okay, yep, that's going in, and it's converting it to oxygen. So do we put a tank in there to get... Okay, so that oxygen tank now has 100 oxygen in it. I see. So I guess that's how we're going to breathe in space. Something like that. But as we don't want to die of exposure, we also need to make ourselves a spacesuit. What do we need for this? Pretty much just glass and wool on top of all the steel we've already got. Oh yes, look at that. Now that is a spacesuit. Although as you can see in the top left, I have absolutely no oxygen in it. So that's not ideal. So we can get oxygen into our spacesuit by placing it in here. But we need to make this a little bit more useful, which means we need an infinite water source. We need to pump all that in, and of course we need to make it look nice. But we now have our spacesuit, we have our rockets. We just don't really have a very good looking lab, do we? So I think what I'm going to do is put in a bit of time to sorting this out, getting these machines all looking nice, and making this place look a little bit more like a space lab. At least on the inside. I think on the outside I still want it to look like it fits in with everything else. So I guess it's going to be a super secret space lab. I think I feel a building montage coming on. Enough of the time lapse. I think we're ready for a tour, and it's only enough of the time lapse because I may or may not have forgotten to hit record for the last bit of the build, so you didn't see me build these wonderful doors. Sorry about that, but I can still show you around and show you what's going on in here. We've been having a wonderful time. So I've basically just made a massive warehouse, which if we actually look at from the outside, I think still fits in with all the islands nicely. It still needs some pipes and details and things like that, but the most important thing is, of course, this roof fan up here. I had a lot of fun making that, and I think it just works really well. But on the inside, we basically have the machines that we already had before. There's only one new one, which we'll get to in a moment, but this is our oxygen producer. So we actually have two of the loaders. This one here is producing oxygen and pumping it into these tanks either side. And then when we want to fill something up, we just use this one here, and this will just pull through all the oxygen from either tank. So I shouldn't think we're going to run out of that anytime soon. And the other machines we've added here are, of course, our plate maker, so we can make all the steel and copper plates and whatnot that we need. And we've got the rolling machine over here as well, so we can make all the iron rods. I also figured it would be wise to show our network stress over here so we can see what we're using. And as you can see, we're actually very, very close to completely maxing it out. So we should probably go light the other stack, to be honest. We've only got one running at the moment. And we've also just got a crusher and an infuser here as well, just because I needed to make some bits and bobs for this, which is is our hydrogen generator. So what we're doing here is we're pulling in water, and that is generating hydrogen and oxygen. This is just getting dumped. In fact, now it's getting dumped all the way because we don't actually need this type of oxygen. This is sort of Mechanism's liquid oxygen. This is the one we need for tanks. And then we've got two condensers. This one here actually condensates. Yep, that's definitely a word. It condensates the hydrogen and turns it into liquid hydrogen. That then gets pumped into either tank. And then this bottom one here is actually a decondensator, and it's doing it the other way around. So we're turning the liquid hydrogen back into actual hydrogen so we can use it, and then I can actually refill my jetpack now, which is great because it means we can use this all the time. I have absolutely no idea if hydrogen has any other uses, but I just wanted to be able to refill my jetpack, okay? And then lastly down here we have, well, of course, the big sign for BASA, which is Beardy's Average Space Agency. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. But this is our rocket construction zone, which I expect will fill up over time because there are numerous rockets we need to make as the journey goes on. But we've also just got an array of armor stands at the back here. So we have our spacesuit, we have our jetpack, and this is another type of jetpack. I think this is the Mechanism one. I've not actually used that yet. This is a backpack from Create. I have no idea what that does, but it looked pretty cool. And we also have a scuba tank on this one, just because it's a thing that goes on an armor stand and works fine. So this is where we're at with our development of our space program so far. Although there is actually one more thing, which are these doors here, which I've made open really slowly, painfully slowly, but I do love that they work. And then we just got like a little road up here, and I guess this is gonna go to some kind of a launch pad or something. I don't know. I haven't really planned anything out. We'll see what happens. I did actually try to set up a Create gantry so we can pull the rocket out as well, but sadly these two things here can't actually stick to anything Create and cannot be moved, which is a shame because that would have looked awesome. I've still got some work to do on the outside. As you can see, we need to get some pipes and stuff on the side of the building. I need to get some foliage and greenery, maybe some trees around the back, but I'm really pleased with how that's looking. And look at our giant island kingdom. This place is massive. Oh my days, look at all the pigs. There are so many pigs. What am I supposed to do with all those pigs? Well, that's going to have to be a problem for next episode because that's all we've got time for today, and I'll see you on the next one where hopefully we'll actually get into space, which will hopefully be less dangerous than here.